back this morning. Kentucky has just passed some major changes to the way people in the Bluegrass vote, and it was done with bipartisan support, now signed by the state's top Democrat, Governor Andy Beshear. We're joined this morning by the state's top election official, Secretary of State Michael Adams. Thanks for joining us from Frankfort.
Hey, my pleasure. Good morning.
So first of all, we want to talk about the changes that Kentuckians are going to be seeing. What you've called this in several ways the most significant election law updates maybe Kentucky has seen in the last century.
Yeah, we really were behind the rest of the country until fairly recently. We made it harder to vote than just about any other state in the nation. We made everybody vote in person, and they had to do it on one day in a 12-hour span. That just doesn't really reflect the modern reality of people's busy lives. But we do believe that in-person voting is the gold standard, and so this new law moves us from 1 day to vote in person to 4 days to vote in person, including a Saturday. That's a big development for working people like my family. We also have security improvements. We had a safe and secure election last year, but there's always more we can do, and so this law gives me further ability to clean up our voter rolls. It's really important for election security.
Now, in a time, Secretary Adams, where many states this has become controversial and voting changes have been happening are hard to make happen, is Kentucky, was it easier to make happen with this bipartisan support because of the majority in the State House and the State Senate? I mean, the Senate has 30 of 38 positions held by Republicans, and the House is 75 of 100 seats held by Republicans. Do you think that was a major role in why bipartisanship was so easy, because the Republican Party has such an advantage in the state's elections right now?
No, I don't think that at all. Other states, you see lopsided majorities and total control by the Republican Party, and they've gone in a different direction than Kentucky has. The difference here is that despite their supermajority, they worked in good faith across the aisle with Democrats. They didn't have to do that. They chose to do that, and we got a better product for it. I think it's really important when you have an election law update that you have both parties buy-in on it. Otherwise, it looks like one party's trying to gain an advantage, and that's not fair. And that's what you've seen at the national level in Congress with Nancy Pelosi trying to change election rules, including in our state. Her bill would actually strike down our new law that does so much to help voters vote.
And you spoke earlier about where Kentucky ranked before this major change we're seeing now for the next election. Do you think Kentucky has more work to go? Is this one step in the right direction, or is this a major change that'll take a while to get used to?
Well, this is certainly the biggest reform we've had literally since the horse and buggy era. The last time we revisited our election code was 1891. We were way overdue for this. I don't anticipate any more significant changes to our election system during my term of office. I think we've really moved the ball a big way. When I took office last year, we were rated 44th in the country on election administration. And next time we get rated, I think we'll be at the top. I don't think we need more changes than what we've just done. We need to implement these and make sure voters are used to them and exercise their new options before we make any more changes.
And election security, you mentioned that this new law is going to add more security measures. It's a big thing in Kentucky. It's across the country. A lot of voters feel like election security is something that's at risk, or maybe something that's not near the level it needs to be. With you being the top election official in the state of Kentucky, what can you do to reassure voters that not only the last election was as secure as we believe it to be, but the next ones are also going to be more secure and really legitimate in every way?
Well, it's always a challenge because there are always threats. There are foreign threats, domestic threats, fraud, suppression. It's always different. But Kentuckians saw us have a safe and secure election, no spike in COVID cases, the highest turnout we've ever had in a Kentucky election, and no vote fraud cases coming out of it. That's very unusual for a Kentucky election. Usually you have some vote fraud, at least attempts here or there around the state. We did a better job than we've ever done, and we did it through bipartisan cooperation, but there's always more that we can do. And so that's why, for example, this bill moves us toward universal paper ballots, away from electronic machines and toward paper ballots. So we've always got a paper trail in case there is any suspicion of any foreign or domestic influence or fraud.
Well, Secretary Adams, thanks for the time, and once again, congratulations on the bipartisan support that this has received, and hopefully more improvements to election laws in the future throughout Kentucky and the Bluegrass.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
We'll be right back.